Hey everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're excited to have you here this evening. This is our fifth and final retro intro artist in conversation this evening with Sally Schluter-Tardella of Birmingham, Michigan. My name is Jennie Hinchcliff. I'm the exhibitions and events manager at the San Francisco Center for the Book, and I'm excited and so stoked to be hosting this conversation with my co-curator and co-host, Maureen Forys.
Hey everyone.
A little bit of housekeeping before we kind of get the ball rolling here. I just want to let everyone know that this conversation will be recorded this evening and it will be posted online at a later date on the center's Vimeo channel. So just so you know, we will be recording this evening. I'd also like to ask everybody, you guys have all done a great job, but if you could be sure to mute your microphones and turn off your personal video feeds, that would be very helpful. We're asking that you do that so that we can focus on the artist in the conversation that we'll be having in a couple minutes. So please go ahead and do that if you haven't. And then also at the end of this conversation, we'll be having a Q&A. So you can ask Sally questions about her work, her process, her studio process. And the way that we take questions for those of you who are here for the first time or haven't been here before, we ask that you type them into the chat feature in the Zoom browser, and you can see that at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar. So you just type in your question. We'll take about 3 to 4 questions from the audience at the end of the session. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce our artist for the evening, Sally Schluter-Tardella. She hails from Detroit, Michigan, and she has an MFA in painting from Cranbrook Academy of Art. She's currently a professor at the Oakland University in Rochester, Michigan, and her work, especially the piece Floor, often deals with architecture, memory, and one's personal sense of space. We're excited to be talking with Sally this evening, and Maureen and I are thrilled to be able to host her. So welcome, Sally. We're happy to have you here.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Maureen.
Well, I'm going to go ahead. We have a slideshow of the book, and I'm going to go ahead and hit play while we talk about a little bit about the book. As you're all going to see, it's a very visually interesting book, and that's one of the first things we wanted to talk to you about, Sally, is can you talk to us about the visual themes and narratives for Floor?
Yes, so first of all, welcome everybody who came virtually. This is a first for me doing a virtual talk. I've never done it. I hope everyone's safe. And I know that there are people here from both coasts, so that's exciting too. And of course, Midwest, so welcome. So the first thing I would say is my inspirations have gone for, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe 15 years, going back to connecting, as you've mentioned, architecture, using architecture as a metaphor, oftentimes to body. I'm a feminist, and I connect to Louise Bourgeois and her work, Femme Maison, which is the house and the body together. And so I have used little in my books, artist books. I have used one aspect of architecture in each of many books as a symbol or metaphor for the way I'm thinking about domesticity. For Floor is a lot about domesticity. It's about an up-close kind of deconstruction. If you notice, the pages are accordions, so it goes on and you can fold it any way that you want. But I think very much of the floor, linoleum, and tile, and the kinds of colors of floor that has been sort of that varnishy orange color linoleum, old linoleum gets, and cleaning floors. And in these pages I deconstructed and sort of, and I try to put it back together. Floor is pretty banal. It's mundane. And the other book that you've seen in the images here is Wall, and that's one I'm currently working on, which I'll talk about later. But again, that's the same kind of thing, using one aspect of architecture to say something about what I think about what's going on in the world right now. So Wall connects more politically to the wall, the US-Mexico wall, and to immigration. And that's my current book. In fact, it's not quite finished, not quite complete. And I have a very large series of paintings that goes along with this, with the book wall.
Let's go back to floor.
Yeah.
And take a look at this. So I know when we talked before, you were discussing the fact that this was part of sort of larger study of the world around you. And this one in particular was literally looking at linoleum, which is what you've just said. Do you want to talk a little bit about the imagery and the writing and stuff here?
You know, I think it's a variety of floors. You can see some lace that works through the floors. I'm also interested in writing the back, so I should explain the front of the book. Accordion style is all image, and it's actually, even though it doesn't look it, it's really organized, a deconstruction of floor and sort of reconstructing it again. Those L-like shapes are architectural. The dashes and these little rectangles and tiles put together. Very much about architecture. And then on the other side of the book is mostly writing, my writing. And my writing in this case, in the case of floor, has to do very little to do with the content of the book. It's more random. It's random writing that happens on the occasion of watching a movie or attending a lecture, and I take notes. I write all the time. I draw all the time. And it's the way I understand things, actually, really the way people understand things differently, but for me it's visual, and for me it's with my fingers and in a pen. So I began doing books. I've always done sketchbooks, but I began doing books in earnest a long time ago. And I was kind of hiding them at work, and I would hide them. It was a way to bring my work out of the studio. So now I'm speaking a little more to the process, but bring my work out of the studio. So maybe 15 years ago, working on ideas. I do teach, and I tell my students that my sketchbook ideas began in a bar when I was working in Michigan when I was in grad school, and I had no time to paint because I was working. I worked all summer, and what I would do is late when there was nobody in the bar, I would draw on bar napkins, and that would be the way I would get through my ideas. So by the time I had a moment to paint, I had already done like 3 or 4 paintings on bar napkins and gotten rid of a lot of stuff. But it was, in fact, the act of drawing that propelled me forward, and always has propelled me forward to understand things. And so I kept doing that, and it was very disorganized until a colleague of mine, John Corso, said, "Why don't you do this more formally? Why don't you do it as your idea?" And I'm like, oh, maybe. And I started doing that, and I would, so for floor, I lay it out and actually plan one side completely from start, from the beginning to the end. And there's some collaging as well as drawing and gouache and ink on there. And I use whiteout, which I'll talk about in a minute. And it's very planned as one thought process. And yet the back is random, which is not true for wall, but it's true for floor. The back is research into other things, ideas, doodles, things like that. So when I did all of this kind of thing and played around with it, I began to take it much more seriously. And I also began to not be quite as random with the back, because the back, I did exhibit these at the Oakland University Art Gallery at one point, and realized that at some points I had a lot of crap on the back that was pretty, that was not censored. And so I began to be a little more careful about that. Part of the process, the whiteout I've used is both, I use it symbolically, but as a material to cover. So things are redacted, so words are redacted, and I censor myself. You can see it in this one with whiteout tape around those architectural elements. But I've always used it. I like the symbolism of it, and I also like the way it works, the way it feels. when I got to Wall being several years later, what I'm working on now, the back of Wall is actually research into a variety of walls, historic walls. So the one image that is here in the back pages is of the U.S.-Mexico border
this
wall.
right here?
Right here, yes.
Mhm.
And this one is deconstructed now. If you see, there's actual photo images of the wall itself, and there were before our current president was elected, there were, I think, 280 acres, 80 miles of wall already built in California and Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. And my approach to it is taking it apart. So it's pretty symbolic for me. The linear pieces on the bottom are a deconstructed wall so that I can take it apart and actually walk through it. These sort of the whimsical kinds of organic shapes at the bottom. Also, that's my playful approach to taking apart the wall. And then other pages in the back, and again, it's not random at this point, are about walls as barriers, walls to enclose us, walls in structures, walls in this case, walls which are built, walls which are revealed. And I do a lot with wallpaper as well.
Oh, interesting.
And that's also new for this book. It's wallpaper. I'm really interested in this kind of idea of wallpaper being tarnished and representing something, especially like Victorian, very floral wallpaper, tarnished and spoiled and old, bringing back a sense of nostalgia for things of the past and things sort of maybe the ideal, and yet not so pretty as we might think, that the ideal is definitely tarnished.
I mean, one of the great things about Floor that both Maureen and I reacted to right away as we unboxed it was how rich it is from a materials standpoint. And I love that, you just explained a little bit about the whiteout and, the wallpaper as well. But one of the other things that I noticed about Floor, and I'm thinking Wall too, because they're part of a larger series, the size of them. Like, how important is size, this kind of small pocket, like close size for you when you work?
It's really important. So I'm if I sort of begin with an idea of the kind of work I make, I'm not a traditional bookmaker on any in anybody's imagination. The artist book for me is the way to understand the world, the way for me to understand my ideas. And I use it, and it has become an art object in and of itself. Yeah. But I also do paintings that are similar, and large, huge scale drawings that are similar in terms of the ideas. So I'm thinking about the size of preciousness. So my large paintings, I have 18 new ones in my studio. They're huge. They're bigger than I am. And they're, it's a very different, it's the same kind of idea, but they appear differently. And the books that I carry, and there are many of them now, I can slip into, I put them in my car. I carry, and my students know this too, I have them always, different things with me, because it's a way for my studio to be mobile, for me to take my practice outside of my studio space that I can't do really realistically for the most part. I can't work in my studio constantly, but I can work in these books all the time. So that's part of the reason for the size. The reason for the accordion is because the size frustrates me. And so this way I can have a linear, the long thing at the same time as I can carry it in a little tiny pocket. So.
Do you find that people interact with the books differently than they do with the paintings? Like when the two are on view together?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very different. The paintings are, my paintings are large and a lot about color. And even if they have an aspect which is realistic in them, they're textured. To me, they all seem of a piece, but that's because it's my work. But yeah, people react differently. They try to read books. So they try to, I had a woman come into the show at Oakland Art Gallery, and Allie, and she came and looked at the back of the book. She saw one of the lectures that I had attended that she had given when I took notes, and I was scribbling during her lecture. And so people tend to read these in different ways. I don't like it that everybody always wants to read the books, but it's okay. But also because I don't use words in the paintings, and sometimes I sculpt and I don't use words with that either. So I think people take more time.
Yeah.
Books.
And they're the books are about 3 by 5 tall, like 5 tall, 3.
8 by 5,
Okay.
I think.
8 by 5.
135, 135 inches fully extended.
Okay, extended. Okay.
And you keep to that size for each of your books that you've done, correct?
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part.
This is where I've stuck. I used to use really little ones, but they were too little.
Yeah.
I love this notion of taking your studio with you on the road
So good.
for each project, and how the world interacts with the project that you're working on in unexpected ways because of that, and intersects with it. Really, I mean, I know a lot of artists do carry notebooks, but this is the first time I've seen it actually turn into this amazing piece of art. And you've done this multiple times. You have more than one of these books.
Yeah.
You're working on Wall, but can you talk a little bit about you said there were a few other books you've done before.
Yeah, I've done actually a lot. I did a book called Banister. I've gone through several plumbing related books for a number of reasons. Again, going back to the first thing I said, Louise Bourgeois and the idea of body, and connecting plumbing with digestive systems and sexual systems. And I did Faucet, was one book all on faucets. Ball cock, which we talked about the other day, which is that little thing that floats in the toilet bowl in the back of the toilet. But the name is just ball cock. You couldn't make that up better.
Right.
So and vent. So I have wet vent, which is a plumbing, more of a plumbing, not tool, but resource. And vent is a regular. I actually just did a painting named Vent, so I don't know what it is about that, but I like the one word vent. Has so much potential, because you have to, obviously, you vent out your ideas, you vent your anger, you vent the hot air from your house or the cold air, and the wet vent gets rid of the bad wet water. So there's a lot that I find rich in language in the choices of a single word that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, the innuendo alone is so so great, because you're comparing sort of these intangibles with very sort of like physical tangibles,
And the fact that so many of these things are just everyday items too.
Yeah.
Things we walk on, things that we use that we don't think about.
Yeah.
There's a one I did a fence. I did road, and then I was thinking then more of boundaries, and I probably will circle back because of Wall and the idea of boundaries and separations.
Yeah.
But when I did road, I don't know if anybody else does this, but when I walk a lot, and I live on a dirt road, and I see stones and there's dirt, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so every day I'm walking, and so I did a book about that, and of course it became something else, because a road is some symbolic of a million other things, or it can be, but it's also this really mundane thing that we walk on.
Yeah.
And that interests me. I think I talked to you at some point, but I do often try to understand and explain my work, both paintings and my books, architecturally by thinking of the floor plan view. So, you know, looking down from above and the elevation view, and then sometimes the some kind of intersection view.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important for me because I see the world like that. I see, like, when I dream, I fly, and I have this way of compressing, but also enlarging things, and it's the way I see things.
Yeah. Do you have do you tend to work on one of these at a time?
Yes.
Okay.
One book at a time. Lots of paintings at a time, one drawing at a time. I don't know.
It's interesting. No, it's, I mean,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No,
I was going to say, just like for clarification for the audience, these are all unique volumes. They're one of a kind. You're not doing editions or anything like that.
No, and I don't make the book myself because the books I buy, Moleskin accordion books, which is probably the first time you've ever shown anybody at your gallery who doesn't make their own book. In part because I don't, the time that I have, I like to spend doing what I'm doing, which is drawing or collaging or writing, and not making the actual book. I think one day I will get to that. I always say when I retire, I'll do something, but one day I'll be making my own books. I want to. We'll see.
You'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the idea. I love thinking of you as like a bartending grad student who, when the bar would close, you'd like clear off the table and you would pull out this book from your pocket and like be working into it, sort of like processing the day's work or whatever. Like that to me really indicates the start of what has grown into this just natural way of working for you.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Well, thank you. I do view, after many years, I view drawing as paramountly breathing, as something that, not drawing something. And I'm not talking about drawing a thing or an idea, but the physical act of moving my fingers or my hand is something. It's how I figure everything out. So it's my thinking process. It's what goes on in my head. And it's not an end to get to, you know, we used to, long ago when I was in school, it used to be drawing was a way to plan a painting, and that was it. And you know, no, I think not too many people think that anymore, but for me, drawing is for everybody. I mean, what do you do when you're a tiny kid? You know, you garble language and you count and you draw. I mean, even if what you're doing is like with a stick in the sand, you're making marks.
Yeah.
It's fundamental. I think it's fun, but for me, it's remained this fundamental way to process and remember. And I don't know. I do it when I'm watching TV. I do it when I'm doing anything.
Oh, it's just constant. It's just a constant daily.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it can be absolutely of nothing. It can be just the scribble.
It really is a second language that you're fluent in.
It really is.
That's the way I think of it too.
Really.
And I think that fluency, when I teach about drawing, that's what I'm teaching about, is exactly the fluency, being able to do it. You know, when you know another language and you're actually truly fluent, you begin to dream it in that language, and it becomes, you're never self-conscious about it anymore. It just comes. And that's what it is for me.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So you've talked a little bit about your studio practice sort of being everywhere and all the time, and especially as you've gone, you know, you go out into the world. So I'm super curious, now that we're all inside and have been for the last 2 or 3 months, depending on where you live, how has that changed for you? Has it? Or is it just that you take smaller walks inside the house and around your around your block with your book? Yeah.
On my road. You know, it hasn't changed that much for me. I mean, one thing is I'm on sabbatical now, which has been huge because I have not had to learn how to teach a physical materiality remotely, which I don't want to ever, but I know I will be doing that. But also my practice is very insular, and I'm very, I'm by myself all day when I'm working. And I'm totally happy doing that. And so it hasn't changed, and that doesn't mean anything. I mean, no disrespect, everybody's struggling. The COVID has been a nightmare in so many ways, in a strange way that our world is changing, and we will never know what it will be like. It will never be the same again for us, I believe. But for me, because I live inside my head so much of the time, the isolation is not hugely problematic. The fear is, and the distraction of the fear and the anger at how our country is managing or not managing. And you know, I have two nieces who work in emergency room, and one has been positive already. And so all of that I live with, that is very frightening.
Do you find that, I mean, because I know a lot of us, Jennie and I have talked about this since the pandemic began and the shelter in place began. And I'm certain that a number of our audience members here are feeling the same way. But have you found it difficult to work, or have you found that you've now been able to work through that and actually have it be something that is anchoring and soothing and able to create? Because I know I'm still in the process. Like, I have a lot of ideas now, but I still haven't really made anything other than, you know, cookies and bread.
Actually, I know a lot of artists, many more artists that are reacting the way you are, Maureen, and myself included.
Yeah.
It is hard to, and I don't know how dramatic this will end up being historically for us, but I do sometimes think about making art at a time when other people are going out and serving food or making masks at their sewing machines, which I do know a number of artists who are doing that. And it seems so much more substantive than living in my own head. So I think that's part of it. I think it's also hugely distracting right now for all of us artists. And I mean, artists work from home anyway. That's what we do. And so that's not the big adjustment. I think the big adjustment is to the change maybe that we've got in this country, the change of not hugging people, the change of not going to the store every day to get your fresh food, you know, or whatever your change is. There's so much. And that's just for the easy part. For those of us who are, you know, who aren't working in the medical field or the grocery field or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And we are definitely all in this together.
Yeah.
And it is, it kind of brings us back to your current work of Wall, I think, because I imagine this has taken on new meaning, like actual separation of not being able to hug, or, you know, when we do go to the grocery store and those amazing folks that are working there, literally behind a plexiglass wall now. Like, there's these little barriers that have gone up everywhere.
Yes. And it's really interesting. So at times I think I'm going to be working on Wall for the rest of my life. You know, so I can't look all these paintings, and it's only one book, but there's many more. I have lots and lots of ideas relevant because so in this one, seeing the internal functioning of Wall, or here where you have the external and the internal at the same time, because the swirl is sort of the form of wallpaper unraveling, and stone wall with a very small opening. It's very much informed about our time now as well, and not only the walls that separate us and those kind of cliches, although that's there too, but just the kinds of things that are dividing, the kinds of structures that surround us, but they also protect us.
Right.
And there's lots that can be said about the wall.
Yeah.
I think that it's probably a good place to end, unless there's anything else you want to share with us. But otherwise, I would love to hand it over to the audience if you have any questions. Jennie will be fielding those. Feel free to type them in the chat
Yeah. Mm. Ooh,
Got some good ones coming in.
I know. Look at this. So John, who I think you referred to a little earlier this evening, asks a great question. Since you take the books into the world, are they like field guides? And if so, how do they reorient your sense of space and environment?
They are like field guides, absolutely. In fact, I talk about them, at least with myself, as a legend or a key, like a map. You know, they help me find my way. You know, you have this little section of the map where it tells you the scale and the scale of the highway and that. So they are my legend. And the second part of the question is, how do they
reorient your sense of space and environment?
Oh my gosh, John, that's hard. How do they reorient my sense of space and environment? You know,
I mean, do they? I mean, do you sort of think about things, you know, like when you're working into the page, you're drawing. You kind of, you know, do you almost feel yourself sort of fall down into it and things get, I mean, you mentioned that, you know, many of your dreams, you fly in your dreams, and that in and of itself is a real like spatial and environmental like shift. So, I mean, do you find when you're working on the page in a book that you sort of lose all sense of what's going on around you and you're maybe creating what's going on?
Yes, I think I alter what's going on around me. I can control it. I like control. Everybody likes control.
Yeah.
I have to think about changing the space around me. I have to say that in sort of an, you know, not truly unconscious self, but again in dream, I dream about the books. So it's kind of this perpetual ongoing thing. I dream about something that's in the book, and then I make it in the book, and then I have another, you know, and I'm flying around these spaces, which are architectural rooms or structures. So it changes to some extent the way I see space. I know that wasn't really an answer, but a little bit.
No, it's awesome. Terry has a great question. She says, what are some things you do to avoid cliche imagery?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, it's a great question.
I'm not sure I always do it successfully, but I am very aware of it. And so I talk to myself when I'm working, but a lot of times what I do is I will, what's a good example is for color. So when I I studied color a lot for a long time. I'm obsessed with different aspects of theories of color. And I used to force myself to use the ugliest color that I could. And by that, I mean, you know, bile green and then I end up actually thinking bile green is one of my favorite colors now. Yeah. But I do it by constantly saying to myself, and this may be partly how teaching informs me, because I talk to my students a lot about this, is when it becomes formulaic and easy, then it's time to get rid of it, whatever it is. And now knowing that is hard, but as soon as it's a formula, then it's not fresh anymore.
Yeah. I used to always tell my students, you know, they'd come to me and they'd say, I've got this thing, it's awesome, this is what I want to do. And, you know, you kind of look at it and you think, it doesn't quite ring true. And I would say to them, you should always look for the second right answer.
That's good. I like that.
You know, because you're so married to like your first idea, but it's like if you just take it, you know. And I think that my sense is that with your process, you're like looking for the third, fourth, and fifth right answer, which is amazing.
Absolutely.
Let's see. We have Diane, who says your drawings are compelling, and I agree 100%.
Thank you.
She says, are there ways you envision that they would bring others together in finding common threads?
I don't know. I mean, would they bring others together? I think if you contemplate, if you think that poetry can bring you together when you have maybe one word and two people read that word and they think more about road than they have before, or more about door or floor or wall, that's a way to begin a conversation about things that are much bigger than the object itself or than that symbol itself. So perhaps, I mean, this is an example of a conversation which is bringing people together. So,
Yeah,
It's true.
do you think the books bring people together or the paintings bring people together? Like which is the more effective means in a way? Or do you think they're like two parts of the same?
well, for me, they're two parts of the same. I don't think they are for viewers. I think the paintings are bold and right there. And the question that a painting may suggest is more obvious. The books are more subtle. You have to look further for my books, or anyway, you have to look further through.
Is there text in your paintings?
No.
Okay.
Totally visual.
Nope.
At the very least, I think that the fact that your books and paintings, but we haven't had the pleasure of seeing those in person, but the books are entitled these sort of mundane, everyday objects, that we all understand what the word floor means or what the word door means. And so the fact that all of us sort of start at this place of understanding, but then get to dive into this world with you is an amazing opportunity to not only share your world, but then sort of think about that in your own environment, and then how it might relate to the people you're with or the people in your own world, in your own artistic circle. So in that sense, I feel like it really does have the power to bring people together.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that way. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's right now I have a upcoming project and a show in January with a wonderful artist, Cody Vanderkay, and he's a sculptor, and we've been working with an architect, Fernando Bales, and I'm not sure if he'll be in the show, but we've worked together collaborating on a show called Unsheltered. And it has so many more meanings. And this is, so an architect, a sculptor, and a painter working on this idea of shelter or unshelter. I mean, and it's all changing right now because we've all had to, we've talked about this a year ago, and now we're all, shelter in place, and this becomes a whole different animal. But it's interesting. It's interesting, and that'll take me in another direction, I'm sure.
Yeah. I have one closer question for you, Sally.
Yes.
Someone asks if your next work will be titled Ceiling. And what I will say is that it is someone that you know. It is a family member.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I had to have that.
But seriously, will you do a ceiling book?
I actually, I may, and I've thought about it, but I have a ceiling fan. I have one of my paintings is a ceiling fan. So I'm getting there. I'm like moving up the wall, and working my way from the vent, which is way at the bottom. I've gone through thermostat and all the light fixtures and the plugs and everything. I'm working up the wall, and I have a ceiling fan. So yeah, probably ceiling, but then, then you've got to start talking about, sky and, all the kinds of symbolism there that's going to just like be, I don't know if I can do it. It'd be too big.
Right.
It might be multiple ceilings.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's always roof too.
Yeah.
I do have in my, some of my notebooks, I have actually, this is really, before these books, I have notebooks that nobody sees. They're like super, super secretive. But I have roof and door, I have all kinds of different research into different things that I may one day do. But roof is right up there. More than ceiling.
I love this architectural angle.
I do too.
You're rebuilding. You're literally like rebuilding one book at a time. This world, your internal world. I love it.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Wow. Well, I guess I mean, that's kind of like the perfect, beautiful place to say thank you and that it's been such a delight, a true treasure to be able to have a conversation with you this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts and world.
Thank you. I'm glad I was in the show. Wonderful. I wish I
Thank
could have seen it.
you. We were so excited to be able to show it. So thank you.
Yeah, we were lucky. We managed to get it out into the world for about 6 weeks before all this hit. So
Well, this is getting it out in a different way, which is great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There is a catalog. I'm selling for you.
There is a catalog.
That's a really good point.
Yep.
Yes.
Making sales for you.
And
Okay.
SFCB is doing online sales, right, Jenny?
That's right. We sure are. That's right. That's right. Yes, you can visit. So I will go directly into the wrap up. Yes, you can visit the website page for retro introspection, moving past into the forward. And there you can find the full list of all the artists that we have exhibited over the past 3 months, as well as a digital link to the catalog, which you can page through on issue.com. There's also a gallery price list should you be interested in purchasing any of the work. I really want to thank Sally for participating in our conversation. I'm so excited. I'm happy and so sad that this is our last conversation. And I also want to take a minute and really thank Maureen, because it's been amazing to work with her as co-curator and co-host, and this is a project I'm really glad we could do together.
Me too. Everything you just said.
Everything, all the things, all the feels, all the feels.
All the feels, all the things.
So what I will say is that, again, I'll just repeat for those of you who came in late, if you are interested in staying current for our online workshops and our online events and programs, the best place to find out about those and stay current is on our website. Subscribe to our newsletter. The website is www.sfcb.org, and you can find all of our info there. So again, thank you so much, Sally. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Maureen.
Yeah.
Have a lovely evening, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.